Welcome to the Newstart kitchen. Today we're going to learn how to make pancakes, a wonderful thing to eat for breakfast. Now we're going to start our pan warming to start off with. I feel like that's the secret to getting a good pancake. You ever notice the first one that you make is always a bit gummy? I feel it's because the pan isn't warmed enough. So we're going to set our pan to warm on a medium low heat. We can turn it up a little bit afterwards, and we're going to start with our ingredients. So we have 3 cups of whole wheat flour, 2 tablespoons of ground flax, a tablespoon of aluminium-free baking powder. We have a teaspoon of salt. We have 2 tablespoons of applesauce and 2 tablespoons of honey maple syrup. I have maple syrup today. And then we have 4 cups of soy milk. So we're going to start by adding the dry ingredients into our bowl. And we can give that a little whisk together. And then we can add the wet. In we go. And lastly, the soy milk. Now you want to whisk this together. Now I say pancakes for this, but I don't know if you've noticed my accent, but we're from Europe, we're from England. And we're used to having our pancakes a little bit more like what they call a crepe, which is more like a flat one. I think here in America, the pancakes are much more fluffy and thick, but this recipe is kind of more like a crepe. So you can see that the consistency is quite runny. So we don't encourage the use of oil here at Newstart, but for things like pancakes, where you don't want it to stick to the pan, we will use just a little bit of spray oil, just to loosen up the pan a little bit. So just a little touch. Can leave that there. And then we'll transfer this out and use our ladle to put a little bit in the center. Now, if you like your pancakes a little thicker, you can just let it move like that around the pan. Or if you like them just a little bit thinner, you can slowly rotate your pan like this. And then let it sit. I'm gonna check the fire. So you'll start to see some bubbles as the pancake starts to cook. And you want the pancake to dry out, just, not completely dry, but just before it's dry, then you flip it over to the side. So typically, depending on how high you've got your flame, or if you've got electric, depending on what temperature you have it, maybe between 1.5 minutes, but you can just keep checking. We'll get a spatula and we'll use that so that we can check how cooked it is. So you'll start to see it drying out around the edges here and the bubbles forming in the middle. Maybe we could have it a little touch higher and see how we go. Now you can make them as big or as small as you like. Sometimes I just put little dollops in the pan if you want little ones, if you like a stack. Or if you like them like this, the bigger they are, you can spread them with different toppings and roll them up. So it's totally up to you what you prefer. Let's try this big one to start off with. And you can use your spatula just to check how it's going underneath. I think a little touch longer. It's almost drying out. And then using this, you can lift and flip. There we go. And then we'll get a plate out of the drawer ready. And you want to typically cook it for another minute or so on the other side. You know your pancake will be nice and fluffy if you've got this kind of texture on the top. So I think we're almost getting there. Let's have a look underneath. Gently, a little bit longer, I think. And whilst you're making your pancakes, you can think about what toppings you want to put on it. At home, we like to use a nut butter and fruit, typically. But it's totally up to you. Let's see, I think we're good to go on this one. There we go. There's a pancake. So what you do is you just keep going. A little tiny bit of spray oil in your pan. Use your ladle. And then you just keep going until all of your batter is used up. So we'll be right back once we've finished making all of this batter. So welcome back, and here we have our stack of pancakes. So you can put anything you like on these. We like to use nut butters, you can put coconut, you can put fruit, anything that you like. And if you want a little bit of extra sweetness, you can use a little bit of maple syrup. So there you have it, a stack of breakfast pancakes.